Hey, what's up? It's Symphony here. Subscribe to my brother Mr. Creepy as Hell channel, and when you're watching his videos, make sure you stay in one piece.
I'm pretty sure, as you're listening to this, all of you at one point had a job where a manager was just a complete asshole towards you. In my case, my manager nearly killed me and my family. Literally, I'm not even joking. This was 7 years ago. My wife was pregnant with our second child at the time. We also had a 3-year-old daughter. During that time, money was kinda hard to come by, and we were barely able to pay our rent. I just got laid off of a job at a grocery store that was shut down, and I desperately needed a job. And to make matters worse, my wife couldn't work because she was really pregnant, so it was all up to me to make sure I had to be financially stable for my wife, our unborn child, and our 3-year-old daughter. I was able to get me a job working at a local movie theater. The pay was decent compared to what I was doing at the grocery store that I got let go from. The pay was $17 an hour. Very decent pay. I had an interview with the manager. His name was Johnny, and he, off the bat, seemed like he was a very problematic manager. He didn't smile much. He just talked it in a robotic voice.
Well, it seems like you have a very decent resume, so I'm gonna go ahead and hire you on the spot. I want you to start tomorrow morning. Don't be late,
he said to me. Oh, thank you, Mr. Johnny, for hiring me. I really appreciate it. I thanked him.
Yeah, whatever, just go, please. Come back tomorrow morning,
he said as he was waving his hands, dismissing me. I later went back home and told my wife about the job that I got. She was over the moon and very happy for me. The next morning I got myself together and I went to my job for the very first day of orientation. After I learned everything, the boss, Johnny, put me on the concession stand where I would be taking people's tickets and taking people's orders for whatever food they want to eat while watching a movie. The first day of the job went well, and I didn't mind the job and I kind of liked it. But the second day is when things took a turn, and that's when I noticed Johnny's true colors started to come out, and how he treated his other employees, and why so many people would leave the job and wouldn't stay that long. On the second day I worked there, that's when Johnny started to complain to me about small little things.
Hey, what's going on here? Why aren't you cleaning out the bathroom?
Because we got customers, and I gotta stay here to take their orders. I just can't leave and go clean the bathroom off, and plus, I'm the only associate here. I thought you said you were gonna hire more people, I explained to him.
Hey, don't ever complain to me. You better be thankful I hired you for this position,
he said to me while grinning his teeth, with his face turning red. It took me a second to realize what just happened. Why did my boss snap at me like that?
I will handle the concession stand. Go clean the bathroom off,
he demanded me while trying his very best not to raise his voice. I was confused because there were 2 other employees that were supposed to be here with me, but they called in, and they didn't even give a good reason why they wouldn't come in. But somehow Johnny let it slide. He didn't say anything to them, but he was very strict with me, and I was very confused. I felt like it was favoritism, that he favors them over me, and he really didn't want to hire me. After I got done cleaning up the bathroom, I went back into the concession stand area while my boss was taking orders. He looked at me and gave me this look that looked like it could stab me in the heart if he wanted to with his looks.
Start cleaning up the movie room,
Johnny snapped at me. I paid it no mind, and I cleaned up the theater room. It took me about 15 minutes to get the whole theater room clean, but it was pretty big. It was a lot of work. I moved fast, and I was able to get it done. But despite me moving real fast and getting it done within 15 minutes, that was not good enough for Johnny. He complained about something else.
What the hell are you doing? Why is it taking you so long to clean up the whole theater room? It should only take you about 5 minutes. What's going on? Are you slacking off the job? Because if you are, I'm gonna send you home and I'm gonna terminate you.
He said to me as I was walking out of the theater and he was standing near the doorway, blocking my exit. Sir, it didn't take me long at all. It only took me about 15 minutes at most. So I'm trying to understand. I can't do it within 5 minutes. It's kind of crazy. I argued with Johnny. After I told him and pleaded my case, he changed. His eyes were wide, and as he was talking, his teeth were showing. He said to me,
"Hey, don't you complain to me. You lucky I gave you this damn job. Now, like I told you, get it done quicker and faster. Hurry up, motherfucker. Pissing me the fuck off."
It felt like my heart skipped a couple of beats. This man, the way he snapped at me, it gave me chills that ran all across my back down to my spine. I was so nervous. I couldn't say anything to him. I just nodded my head and went back to the concession stand to take people's orders. As I was taking their orders, I was thinking about wanting to quit, but I knew I couldn't because I have a family I had to support. But I knew if I was single and I didn't have any kids, I would have immediately left after the guy yelled at me. But I stayed there and I toughened it up. A week later, while I was working, I got a phone call from my wife. It was my mother-in-law, my wife's mother, and she told me that my wife was giving birth to our second child. I was over the moon, and I hanged up because I was going to leave. I went into Johnny's office and I told him about what happened, and to my shock, he was not understanding at all, and it turned into a huge argument. "Excuse me, sir, my wife is giving birth to our child. I gotta go be with her. Is it alright if I can leave a little earlier today, sir? It'll only be just a couple of days. I'll be right back." Johnny stopped writing something on his clipboard and looked at me for about 15 seconds, and then he said to me,
"First of all, what were you doing on your phone? Second of all, you're not going anywhere early. You're going to stay here and finish your shift. Okay, you got 3 more hours. Once that 3 hours is up and your shift is done, you do whatever the hell you want to do. You're staying here. This job is more important than some dumb baby and your stupid ass wife."
When he said that, something took over me. This man can talk to me however he wanted to talk to me. But when you mention my wife and my kids, that's off limits. And I was furious. "Whoa, wait a minute, sir. No, we're not gonna do this. First of all, you're not gonna disrespect my wife and my kids like that. Okay, they have nothing to do with this. If you want to be angry at me, call me names, that's completely fine. But don't ever talk that way about my wife or my kids. You know nothing about them."
"Listen, boy, stop arguing with me. I said do your damn job. You're not going anywhere till your shift is done. I don't give a damn about your whore, stupid wife, and your dumb kid and the one that you're expecting. That's none of my problem. Maybe your wife should have worked it so she won't have to be bugging the fuck out of you. You got a job to do."
"Oh, you know what? Nah, fuck this. I'm reporting you right now. That's it. I'm done. I'm not gonna deal with this type of abuse. You're not gonna disrespect my wife and kids, you son of a bitch," I said to him as I walked out of his office and walked outside and got into my car. I decided to walk off the job because my wife was more important. When I got to the hospital, everything that went down with Johnny was over. I was looking at my beautiful baby boy that was born. My wife was happy and I was happy. Even my 3-year-old daughter came in, and for a moment, time stood still. I was really intrigued and happy to welcome my son into the world. About 3 days later, I got myself together to head back to work. And when I got in there, I was shocked. I found out that we had a new manager. And apparently, Johnny was reported by several people who witnessed what he was doing to me. Not to mention, he was harassing some of the female coworkers and some of the male coworkers as well. They used what happened with me and their experience with Johnny, and they let him go. The district manager terminated him, and we got a new manager. It was a woman. Her name was Shirley. She was much more nicer and understood me. She even told me I could take a couple more days off or even a week off to be with my newborn child. And she said that I can use my PTO. And so I used it. And I took a couple of days off. I got to be with my family, took care of my newborn son, and made sure my wife got plenty of rest. It was really a wonderful time for me. I was very excited. And that's why what happened next really sent me over the edge. I went to go shopping for my wife. She needed more diapers and more formula for the newborn baby. I went there, got what I needed, and I was going to make my way back to the house. Before I started my car, my phone rang. I looked at it, and it wasn't anyone that I knew at first, but then I looked at the number and I recognized it. It was Johnny. Why was he calling me? He's no longer a manager at the movie theater no more, so there shouldn't be no reason for him to call me. But I picked it up anyway, and when I did, my heart sank. My wife on the other end was screaming, and so was my 3-year-old daughter. I was wondering what was going on, and that's when someone got on the phone. And when I heard the person's voice, it was all too familiar with me. It was Johnny, and he told me something.
You caused me to lose my job. I had a good paying job. I was a manager and everything. I had it all. Until you ruined it. So, since you love your family so much, I'll take that away from you just like you took my job away from me. You better hurry. This bomb I have is gonna go off in 5 minutes. And so long to your wife, your 3-year-old daughter, and this wonderful, precious bundle of joy that I'm holding.
You son of a bitch! If you hurt them, I'm gonna kill you!
Oh, well, you better hurry before I do so.
I called 911 as I was racing home, praying and hoping that nothing happens to my family. I made it just before 5 minutes had ended, and by the time I got to the house, luckily the cops had surrounded. I got out of the car, trying to get to my house. I told the officers who I was, and before I could even finish my sentence, my house blew up. Luckily, it wasn't a big explosion, but it was enough to mess up the inside of my house. I didn't really listen to the officers. I ignored them as I ran inside, praying and pleading and hoping that my family was alright. And when I got inside, I saw that the kitchen was completely disintegrated. Even the living room was disintegrated as well. I ran upstairs into my wife's room, and that's when I saw them. My son, my newborn son, and my daughter, and my wife. They were all there as Johnny was pointing a gun to them.
You made a very huge mistake getting the cops involved. Now I'm gonna have to kill your family, one by one. How about I start with the newborn baby first?
The hell you will! I jumped on Johnny, tackled him down to the ground. Me and him struggled. He hit me and I hit him. While that was going on, my wife ran downstairs with the kids. The cops came up eventually and broke up the fight. Johnny was arrested a couple of minutes later, and I gave my statements on what happened. After that, Johnny was arrested and placed in jail for about 37 years. I was happy with the sentence. It gives him enough time to think about what he done. Me, my wife, and my 2 kids are okay. We're blessed that we made it. We got a new house, and I left that job at the theater, but I found me a better job, and it worked out well. I'm just glad that we're safe, and Johnny is rotting behind bars, thinking about what he done.